Hey there, welcome. If you've ever wondered why there's so many different versions of Linux, Ubuntu, Fedora, Kali, Arch, and Debian, and why they all seem to do slightly different things, you're in exactly the right place. Today we're going to crack open the whole Linux family tree, understand where it all came from, and by the end, you'll know exactly which family belongs where. Let's go. So before we talk about families, let's rewind a little. Back in 1991, a Finnish computer science student named Linus Torvalds was frustrated with existing operating systems. He wanted something open, free, and powerful, so he built one and shared it with the world. That little project became the Linux kernel, the beating heart of every Linux system alive today.
But here's the thing. The kernel alone isn't a full operating system. Think of the kernel like the engine of a car. You still need seats, a steering wheel, windows, and doors to make it usable. That's where distributions come in, or distros as the cool kids call them. A distro bundles the Linux kernel with tools, software, and a desktop environment to give you a complete, usable system.
Now, because Linux is open source, meaning anyone can grab the code and modify it, thousands of distros have been created over the years. And just like how dogs all share the same ancestor but come in wildly different breeds, Linux distros all share the kernel but diverge in packaging, philosophy, and purpose. This is exactly what we mean by Linux families. Let's meet the first and arguably most important Linux family, the Debian family. Debian has been around since 1993, making it one of the oldest Linux distros still active today. It's known for being rock solid, stable, and free. So stable, in fact, that major servers around the world trust Debian to just keep running without drama. And out of Debian grew one of the most popular Linux distros of all time, Ubuntu. Ubuntu, first released in 2004, took everything great about Debian and made it way easier for regular people to use. It comes with a friendly desktop, great hardware support, and a massive community. If someone says they're trying Linux for the first time, they're probably using Ubuntu. Ubuntu itself became so popular that it started its own subfamily. You've got Ubuntu Desktop, Ubuntu Server, and then flavors like Kubuntu, which uses the KDE desktop, and Xubuntu, which is lighter and faster for older machines. And then there's Linux Mint, one of the most beginner-friendly distros ever, also built directly on top of Ubuntu. Now let's jump to the second big family, the Red Hat family. Red Hat is a company, and their enterprise Linux system, called RHEL, Red Hat Enterprise Linux, powers a huge portion of corporate servers around the world. It's built for stability, long-term support, and commercial backing. Think of it as the business suit of Linux families. But RHEL costs money, so the community said, hey, let's build something identical but free. Enter CentOS, which stood for Community Enterprise Operating System. It was literally a free rebuild of RHEL without the branding. For years, CentOS was the go-to for developers and sysadmins who needed RHEL compatibility without paying for it. Then Red Hat shook things up and changed CentOS's direction, which led to the rise of two strong alternatives, Rocky Linux and Alma Linux. Both are one-to-one compatible with RHEL, community-driven and completely free. They stepped in to fill the CentOS gap almost overnight. The Red Hat family also includes Fedora, which is more cutting edge. It's basically Red Hat's testing ground for new technologies before they land in RHEL. Time to meet the third family, the Arch Linux family. Now, Arch is very different from Debian and Red Hat. It follows a philosophy called keep it simple. There's no fancy installer, no pre-installed software. You build a system from scratch, piece by piece. Arch users are deeply involved in what goes into their machine, and the whole experience is a learning adventure. Arch also introduced a revolutionary concept called rolling releases. Instead of jumping from version 1.0 to version 2.0 every couple of years, Arch constantly updates itself piece by piece. Your system is always up to date, always running the latest software. No big upgrade events, no drama,
just a continuously evolving system. From Arch came Manjaro, a distro that takes all the power of Arch but adds an easy installer and a polished desktop. If you want the Arch experience without building everything from scratch, Manjaro is your answer. It became massively popular among Linux enthusiasts who want cutting-edge software but still value their time. Now let's talk about a family that's a bit different, the SUSE family. SUSE is one of the oldest Linux distributions, originating in Germany back in 1994. Today you have two key players, OpenSUSE, which is free and community-driven, and SUSE Linux Enterprise, which is commercial and widely used in European enterprises. SUSE is known for an incredible system administration tool called YAST, basically a control center for your entire system. Here's a family you might not have heard of but absolutely should know, the Slackware family. Slackware, created in 1993, is the oldest surviving Linux distro. It's minimalist, ultra-stable, and deeply traditional. It doesn't try to automate things. You're expected to understand what you're doing. Slackware inspired other distros, like Puppy Linux, which is tiny enough to run entirely in RAM from a USB drive. Now, let's talk about a family built for a completely different purpose, the Kali family, which falls under Debian but deserves its own spotlight. Kali Linux was designed specifically for security professionals and ethical hackers. It comes preloaded with hundreds of penetration testing and forensics tools. If you're studying cybersecurity, Kali is the distro you'll be spending a lot of time with. Let's not forget about distributions built specifically for lightweight performance, what we can loosely call the lightweight family. Think Ubuntu, Puppy Linux, Tiny Core, and Alpine Linux. These are designed to run on machines with very little RAM and processing power, old laptops, embedded systems, even routers. Alpine Linux in particular is wildly popular in the world of Docker containers because it's incredibly small, just a few megabytes. Now, here's something fascinating. Android, the operating system running on over 3 billion smartphones worldwide, is built on a modified Linux kernel. And most of the cloud infrastructure powering Netflix, Google, Amazon, and every major website you use runs on Linux. The kernel Linus wrote as a side project in 1991 now literally runs the world. So how do you choose a distro? Well, it really depends on your goal. If you're a beginner, start with Ubuntu or Linux Mint. They're friendly and well documented. If you're heading into enterprise or DevOps, learn RHEL or CentOS based systems. If you love tinkering and want full control, try Arch or Manjaro. And if you're into security, Kali Linux is waiting for you. All right, let's bring it all together. The Linux world looks complex from the outside, but once you understand the family tree, it all makes perfect sense. Every distro traces back to a few key ancestors: Debian, Red Hat, Arch, SUSE, and Slackware, and they all share one thing: the same Linux kernel Linus Torvalds wrote over 30 years ago. Linux is not just an OS, it's a movement, a philosophy, and honestly, one of the greatest collaborative achievements in human history. Thanks for watching, and go explore.